they decided to knock their silo over, the water silo, set it upright, ready to refill it, only to find that they had tipped it over in such a manner that it didn't drain directly onto their little pellet surface that they walk across. Of course, I got the water silo placed on a plate, a large plate, to help prevent such things, but if you haven't already seen them, these feathered, two-legged creatures behave as if they're on opposing football teams. Not just two opposing football teams trying to get the quarterback or the receiver who has the ball after it's been thrown. No, these chickens behave as if they are 12 opposing football teams, all attempting to sack the quarterback. It's fun to watch. They're very amusing. One of these days, as they get older and they get into their larger environment, there will be a wider lens camera on them, and perhaps such antics will be able to be seen for what they are: zany. Coming to you just recently after the American Independence Day, otherwise known as the 4th of July, America's 259th birthday, or excuse me, 249th birthday. Next year will be America's, what is it? Is it a sesquibicentennial, or is it a bisesquicentennial, or is it a... I have no idea. And before you get excited wondering what is it, I learned the word sesquicentennial from being in Texas for their 150th a long while back. And so I've been curious, is this a sesquibicentennial or is it a bisesquicentennial? I would imagine it's a sesquibicentennial because sesqui is supposed to represent 50 and bicentennial is 200 years. Let's listen into sigma trait, and I will do my opining as topics are revealed, as the layers of an onion are pulled back.
So one thing I always hear is, where have all the good men gone, right, in society? However, I just started looking up some stats, okay? 1 in 3 women have an STD. 1 in 3 women have had an abortion. 38% of kids are born into single-parent homes. The average age of first child is 26, which is before the average age of first marriage, which is 30. 45% of marriages end in divorce. The average number of partners for a woman is between 4 and 8, and when women get above 5 partners, their chance of a happy marriage goes from 80% to 20%, depends on the study, plus or minus 10%. And if men pick the wrong woman, they can be financially ruined, and their kids can be taken from them. And on top of that, 60-70% of women are overweight in the U.S. The question is, how does a guy...
Yeah. And once a good man is abused and divorced, he no longer wants to be a good man for anyone but himself. Heard a group of girls talking about how many STDs they had and what type it was. I remember we used to shame those people.
You can't make a woman happy. It's impossible. I've never met a happy woman in my life. Women are always complaining about something. Shit, women like to complain. Women save up shit to complain about. Oh, he don't even know I know. I'm gonna get his ass on that shit next month. It's all about her, fellas. Say yes to everything. Everything. Everything you could afford, say yes to. Just say yes. Before she even gets it out of her fucking mouth. Honey, impossible. You will not win. Because men, we are handicapped when it comes to arguing. Because we have a need to make sense.
Crazy thing is, when they hear someone saying this, they feel proud about themselves like children. They don't even realize we are mocking them.
The biggest problem that I have being a spiritual girly is I look for meaning in every single sign. The fact that any man thinks that I'm going to leave this situation and this setup to go on a date on a Friday night, it's not happening. Like, as someone who's 4'11" and currently single, here are the things I don't want to hear about on a dating app or even in real life. If you call me fun size, if you say, oh my god, I could probably throw you around. If you tell me you could reach things for me, okay, cool, I have a fucking ladder. Saying, oh, well, you can wear heels with me. I can wear heels with literally anybody unless you're also 4'11". Acting like I've never...
These are the comments of somebody who is miserable. Look, I get it. You know, there's things that people have said to me over the years that I don't appreciate. Some things that are immutable, some things that aren't. And essentially it's the serenity prayer. And you have to decide, what is it that they're saying? Are they a jackass? There's an individual I know that is a jackass. Everything that they have is, diamond, gold with diamonds embedded. But it breaks all the time. Anything else is just a POS. The only thing you can do is people such as that is ignore them. You ignore them, you walk away. There's no fixing that. That is a weak individual who is insecure and gets off on trying to berate others down to their level. And that's not the same as what this woman is doing. This woman is exhibiting contempt, resentment. And as I've mentioned before, Professor Gottman, Emeritus of the University of Washington, did a study, did a very lengthy study that is still cited in relationship dynamics, and that is couples that exhibit contempt, and it goes deeper than just contempt, but the couples that they tracked over a 5-year period, the couples that exhibited contempt for the other in the relationship had a 90+% failure rate. I believe it was 95% perhaps? It's been a while since I've read it. I only read the summary of it, so I know there's more details to it than just this little bit of information. This is the reason that I encourage you to learn to read body language, to learn forensic statement analysis, to learn social engineering, not so much as to learn how to manipulate people, but to recognize what is truly being communicated. 90% of what's being communicated is non-verbal. As the comedy bit by Chris Rock that was sampled just a minute ago, men have an instinct to be rational, to understand why. Why are you upset about X? Well, what point is it worth taking an hour to 2 hours out of our day, causing this emotional upheaval, only to find out there isn't a rational purpose behind it? That is the way to develop contempt. That is a way to get abandoned. That is a way to have people ignore you and walk away. You are now the boy who cried wolf. This is the reason such actions that men going on strike exist. But this woman, though, she resents certain things, such as the immutable things. She can't do anything about her height. You know what? I don't know what it is that she's got a chip on her shoulder, and I'm not here to psychoanalyze it. Bottom line is, she has a chip on her shoulder about being short. she has a chip on her shoulder about a list of things. And don't believe for a moment you won't be one of those things. In fact, you will probably be 10 to 100 of those things of which she won't like. Such poison is best avoided. There are far too many other options in the world. As the Earl Davis clip stated, you've got 1 in 3 that have STDs. You have over a third that have had deletions. That the law, and then the laws are stacked against you. So it's it's very tempting to fall into the black pill abyss. I understand that. Anybody who says that you're just making it up isn't truly connecting with you as to what it is that you potentially face. Because one of the other stats she cited was the prevalence of children born into an unbalanced home, the so-called single-parent home. And this is a throwback to the 90s, but Laura Schlesinger had the right definition of it, or the right renaming of it, and that is the other parent dead? No. Then you're not a single parent. Well, I'm divorced. Knock it off. You're lying. The other parent's there. You're just choosing not to have them involved. Grow up. You may not like her. You may not like her approach. You may not have, you may even disagree. But the bottom line is, that's what it comes down to, is it's a, people have called it the victim Olympics. People are championing, campaigning, rallying, for their award, their participation award in an event that has no benefit but is only damaging to all involved. Look at me, I'm a failure. Give me my little blue ribbon that says I'm a failure. That is what it's come down to. That is all it is. The hard part is, and this is the reason that, and this is not going to solve it all. It requires you to perform your due diligence. And due diligence is a fancy way of saying disciplined research. Body language, nonverbal communication, social engineering, all of that, all plays together in helping you identify when somebody's leading you on. I've mentioned it before. As a man, in particular, you want a woman who wants you. You are going to be lustful after women. There are plenty of attractive women. A rule that I learned long ago from another man. I'm similar to a lot of you. My father didn't teach a lot of these steps to me for whatever reason. Whether it's because he didn't know himself or whatever. I don't know. He's been gone for nearly 30 years, so it is what it is. I'm not too concerned about it. All I'm attempting to do is bridge up my own knowledge, shortcomings, and in the process, as I acquire this knowledge and skills and master this information and ability, I'm passing it on to you. It's up to you to do your due diligence on who it is that you're involving yourself. And part of that is looking at their other family members. In particular, the mother and the grandmother. Look at how they interact, how they age, because this is going to give you a glimpse into what you will be waking up to in 20, 30, 40 years. Maybe even 60 years. How they treat that relationship they're in, whether they're in one or not, is going to tell you how they're going to treat you. This is a genuine question that I have for you to answer for yourself, or if you want to share, that's fine. You've all seen or heard of the elderly couple where one dies and within a year the other one dies, but in the surviving time is the commentary of, my spouse was a good husband, wife, father, mother. Times were lean, they did X. Times were good, they did X, whatever. They have positive recollection. They have positive stories. They're not airbrushed. They're capable of telling, the rough edges, about it. They did, there was this one time their temper was lost, but they got it under control, or something. We've all seen it. Some of us, unfortunately, have only seen it in popular media rather than in direct, experience. So the question I have for you, if you are given the three options of dying alone, nobody knowing that you're, having fallen unwell, that leads to this. The other option of being married to a shrew, for lack of a better word, an abusive shrew that has a troll face that you wake up to every day. Or the being with someone that in your passing, at the mention of your name, puts a smile on their face, and they're happy to regale anyone who wants to listen about how times were with you in that relationship. I'm sure there's more than just those three options. And right now, it seems like it's a very, very, very mine-laden field, that not just each square has the potential of being a mine, but each square has a mine, but you have to figure out what part of the square to step on to avoid it. It feels that way at times with all of the nonsense and absurdities out there. Those stats that Earl cited are just a sample. I don't have the answers. I've failed far too many times to say I'm an expert on certain things. But I can tell you right now, what Bo Rafick references as falling for the psyop is something that is worth pondering. And whether he started saying this at the time that I began doing it, or afterward, I don't know, but my goal with the behavioral table of elements has been for a long period of time, which I've only just started doing this past year, as well as the What Everybody is Saying by Joe Navarro, the METT, the microexpression training. These are tools that I'm presenting to you that are still available to look at no cost. All you have to do is watch the information and take notes. As I've explained to people, once this skill becomes incorporated, It's as if you live in a black and white world, and all of a sudden, certain things become fluorescent colored, three-dimensional. It's very difficult to describe, but that's the best example or analogy I can give to show you, to motivate you to pursue this training. You're going to pick up on cues that you have not noticed and were unaware of, both in yourself and in others. But the reason I paused this really was to address that this woman has a list of essentially their icks. And that caliber of person has a lot of self-growth to complete before they're ready for the world. But the problem is, she cakes herself up with makeup and makes the videos, so she's lying to herself. She says she doesn't want this, to be called fun size, or to be considered to be able to be tossed around or whatever. And I get it. Nobody wants to be manhandled. It's not exactly an activity that I find appealing. But the fact that she glosses herself up in an effort to be presentable tells you that this is not a genuine ick fest. It's a victim virtue call of somebody do what I want and know how to read my mind so that you do it right the first time. Otherwise, I'm putting on the makeup and being on video for no reason at all. That's essentially what it comes down to. It's just an adult temper tantrum. And it's best to be avoided. People that do that, they don't pay you enough to be their parent, their therapist, whatever, to help them grow up. You can tell them, but if they start throwing the temper tantrum of any level, just walk away.
Or dated a tall guy, telling me I should go after people who are 5'4" for the short kings, because they deserve me. Like, do I not get the type because I'm short? So I made a video the other day just saying all of the cliches that men or strangers say to me in dating because I'm a 4'11" girl. It went to all of the angry men instead of the short women. So I wanted to read some of the responses. Angrily, get out my notebook. Okay. I can see where she's single. Does she come with a mouthpiece? Seems to have a short fuse. Why is it that always the short ones come with an attitude? Just listening to you should be enough to send any man running. First read I got from you is you will never be happy. You're lucky you're getting any attention at all, as most guys have already given up on dating. Sounds like a lot to deal with when you come home from work. You're the reason that no guy approaches a girl anymore. We wonder why women are choosing to stay single and happy and live longer. No, but I just realized that I actually can't ever date any man because they're going to want to do things like go fishing or go diving or go hiking or leave the apartment, and I just don't know how to tell somebody I don't do that.
And just to reemphasize, it's just in her own statements. She's delusional, as the meme, the Dr. Phil meme. Are you delusional? Do you suffer from a mental illness of some kind? First up, the man, you have to ignore the temptation to fall for the trap. Because that's what it is. She's wanting attention. And as they've said about spoiled children, good attention, bad attention, it doesn't matter. It's all attention. And that's what they want. That's what she wanted. They went to the men instead of the women. She doesn't care. She got attention. And then she closes the first portion. Well, this is why women are choosing to be single and happy. And if you'd seen her face, that is not the face you present when you're happy. she was mad. The second part, she does seem to have something going on. Whether it's an anxiety-based something or what. I'm not the guy to diagnose it. I can just say she's a control freak. She doesn't want to leave her own environment because she's afraid of what the big bad world has to offer. Both, good and bad. But listen to what she said. Rewind it and re-listen. I can't do this because he may want to have a life. Whether that life is hiking, fishing, it doesn't have to be limited to only those. The fact that you even have other family members that you'd like to interact would be enough to set her off. This woman is a walking minefield, and it is best avoided. She's got a lot of work to do, but instead of doing it, she'd rather plaster makeup on and go on rants to get attention. As I said, be wary of the temptation to fall into these traps to, oh, this is the reason you're single, you're just a bitter old shrew, blah, 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 or whatever it is that you're going to comment. A lot of you seem to fall prey to this, and probably the better, in my opinion, option is, what is it, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And it's not about sitting there pondering what it is that's the sound of the one hand clapping. It is being so centered and so at peace with yourself that whatever answer comes, is spoken is the right answer. And that's meaning that there's another phrase, a peace officer's or a police officer's peace shall not be disturbed. Meaning that they're supposed to be of such character and caliber that they can function in society and keep their cool and not be bothered, not be reactive to the stuff. Think of the King's Guard in Britain with the big water buffalo hats, the Fred Flintstone reference. The red coat royal guards, how they stand there at attention for hours as people come by and take pictures and gawk and do whatever, tell jokes or do other ridiculous things to get them to break their composure. That is the direction I would advise one to go, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, a more stoic way of conducting your life. You can have fun, don't get me wrong, you can have fun, but you have to resist the temptation to fall into these traps that are being put out there. Essentially, that's all it is. These women are seeking attention when they put out these videos to incite men so that they'll write a comment or respond or something so that they're like, oh goody, they're talking about me, they hate me, oh, it must be so wonderful to be so consumed with hate for me. It's a sick and twisted thing. Your best bet is to be detached from it. Unless it's right in front of you, unless it's affecting your ability to take care of yourself and your responsibilities, it's not relevant.
She's lonely and not happy being single. That's why she made the video.
Oh my God, I'm officially divorced! Yes! Shame. Oh my God! I'm officially primary custodian of the kids. What I want the child support. That's it? Tony, that's crazy.
And maybe it's just me. I find it offensive that she's on a first name basis with her lawyer. I'm presuming it's her lawyer. It is Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so that is a professional, that is working for you. They're not your best friend. I get it. Hey, Chuck, on a more personable level. I don't know. First and last name, the Dr., Mr., Mrs., whatever title is appropriate. I know, oh, they don't even know what a woman is. Yeah, I get it, but ultimately, if they don't even know what one is, do you want them representing you? That would be the better question, in my opinion. And then, that's just a social faux pas that is always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. The other part is this is an individual who obviously has money. In my opinion, child support shouldn't exist. You're incompetens menti, meaning that you're not mentally competent if you have to rely on the funds of others in order to take care of yourself and others. Therefore, it shouldn't exist. Neither should alimony.
Are you kidding me? Now all of this financial burden on my children is on me?
Look how fast those precious children turned into a financial burden. Interesting. She was absolutely thrilled to know she had custody until she realized that it didn't come with a giant payday. Then those same children instantly became an awful financial burden. When people show you who they are, believe them.
I have a question for you. In today's society, do you think you have white privilege?
No.
No, not at all.
What's the privilege?
Well, maybe not being in fear for your life when you're being pulled over by a police officer.
What about being in fear for your life if you're going through a predominantly minority neighborhood who play knockout games with white people? That doesn't sound like much of a privilege.
Where is that happening?
Well, also as an Asian American, this should
There are
be like
still sundown towns. There's still places where black people, brown people can't go because of racism.
Yeah, and there's lots and lots of places where it's not safe for white people to go, where there's heavy minority set too. So like you saying that
Long ago, I was traveling across the country, and I stopped in Shreveport, Louisiana. I had some time, so after meeting a woman that worked at a local bistro and getting her phone number and whatnot, I went about exploring. Well, one thing I found was that Shreveport seemed to be a predictor of what's going on across a lot of our cities everywhere now. That is, plywood over openings, windows or doorways. There was plywood. There were no streets, or there were no cars on the streets, no people on the sidewalks. This is middle of the day, somewhere between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. or something. And it was clear. It was a decent day. But there was no activity. As I'm proceeding and looking at the continuing decline, the continuing dilapidation, an African-American man comes up to me and tells me, yeah, you need to turn around, man. Or something to that effect. And I was like, it's okay. He's like, no, seriously, you need to turn around. Essentially implying that if I continue walking, I'm going to have escalating threats to my life, that I was entering into somebody else's territory that didn't belong to me there. As he was the only person there, I imagine others were elsewhere watching. And this one either preemptively on their own or was directed to be the ambassador. But regardless, I took the message, went back on my way as I had another 3,000 miles worth of driving to do. And I didn't want to be, causing an issue if I didn't have to for family members down the road. Maybe it was nothing, but any other city that I've been in, that I've lived in, I've never been approached in such a manner. So I always thought that was kind of odd. I mean, there's been other weird encounters, when I was at the Mississippi River, there was an odd thing, but that's another story. This one was just odd because of the way that Shreveport, this portion of Shreveport, was run down, dilapidated, and it was abandoned. But then one individual popped out of somewhere to redirect me, I'm presuming for my own well-being. So, whether or not there's sunset towns, I don't know. Perhaps there are. Not an issue for me, not a concern for me, but that is something that I encountered decades ago as a privileged white man. And then being pulled over, yes. Number one, there's an advantage of living in a rural community. So being pulled over, they are, in a rural community, they're more polite that, if you have a concealed carry, you're supposed to tell me before I pull it up on the computer, meaning that the officer had already come up to me and I failed to let them know that I had that, as well as whether it was with me or not. There are advantages to being in a rural area, so you don't have to worry about such things as much because you know your neighbors, that type of thing. There was another time coming home from work where there was a two lanes going westbound, two lanes going eastbound, and the guy was, it was 11:30 at night, and the guy was so close to me that I couldn't see his headlights, and I'm watching him, and I worked at a place that had a lot of security issues, as in, you had to do full background checks and get government clearances and so forth. Long story short, I pulled you over because I'm a jackie and blah blah blah. I had an old Suburban, late 60s old Suburban. It took forever for that thing to defrost even the windshield. So the point I'm trying to make is, it doesn't matter, man or woman, whatever ethnicity, race, whatever you want to call it. When Johnny Law gets a hair up his butt, we're all keeping our hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, anxious because they're bullies. Not all the time. In fact, most of the time they're not. But it happens enough that it doesn't matter who you are. What flashes through my mind is Johnny Law deciding to end a 70-year-old man who pulled into his own driveway. And that was, 10 years ago that they had that video out there about that? And then they don't get anything, they do what the Catholic Church does, and they shuttle them off to another location.
That you have is but if I go to a lot of these neighborhoods, I will be targeted and attacked based on the color of my skin.
But it's not systematic.
Privilege.
Not systematic, just like she said.
No, systematically, yes.
It's not how is that systematically? That is a person. That is a group that have any
When you say systematically, you would have to show me the system. Okay. Demonstrate for me any system which is only tailored towards white people and against minorities.
At this point, I think 99% of these women don't even know what systematically even means. Not surprisingly, so very few people seem to know that systematically and systemically are two completely different words with completely different definitions. I went to see a friend in a black single-family home neighborhood in San Diego with his cousin. I'm white, the both of them are black. One black guy came walking down the street as we were getting out of my car. He didn't acknowledge and just walked by. Dude wasn't home, so we pulled out. As we were driving down the street, that guy and about 29 of his friends came running out of a cul-de-sac and started shooting at my car. I've never heard of that happening to a black man in a white single-family home neighborhood in my lifetime. I'm 40 plus.
I need to know if everybody's husband is the same way or if mine's just broken. Mine might be broken, honestly, but when I tell you we cannot have a single conversation without him saying something dirty, throwing a little razzle-dazzle in there somewhere, and he don't even have to think about it. It just literally comes right off of his tongue. Like, I'll be like, oh, I had such a long day. Right away. Oh, I got something long for you. Like, why are they like that? Maybe they're not. Maybe it's just mine. God forbid me tell him I need a damn snack. Because he's got one for me.
Okay, I'm gonna tell her your man's not broken. He's just really into you. He doesn't have a filter. He can't stop himself from saying the things that are popping into his head because that's what he's thinking when he looks at you. And he says it, he lets it out because he thinks that you will take it as a compliment. He believes that showing that desire for you is a positive thing. And if it works 1 out of 100 times, he will continue to do it forever.
On the flip side, when he stops making those types of comments, you're pretty much done.
Someone gave me this piece of advice not long ago. They said, do you want to be a dad? And I said, yes, I can't wait to be a dad. They sort of wagged their finger in my face, and they said, make sure that you fall in love with the girl, not the institution. Yeah. And the point being, if you want to be a dad, or if you want to be a mum, a lot, you can, what was it they said? With rose-colored glasses on, red flags don't look red. Like, if you just want the thing, I want to be a dad, I want to be a mum, I want to be married, I want to be not alone, whatever the thing that you want, you're able to, it's not so big of a deal. And it's like you're not getting married to marriage, you're getting married to a person. You're not having a baby with the process of childhood, you're having a baby with another human. That's a great piece of advice, too.
That was my favorite quote from BoJack Horseman. When you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
If you're a man and you're obese, no, you're 2 times as likely to be obese if you're a young woman than a young man. That's just a fact. And young men don't typically like obese women. Black guys, we get it, but...
Oh, that's so true.
So, you're a young man and you're obese. You live in your basement. You know what not one of your male friends says? Nah, don't worry, you're in great shape. Yeah. The best you can hope for is, hey man, you're in a rough spot. You know, I'm here for you. You'll figure it out. Yeah. We don't tell them that you're beautiful and brave in your state of disarray. Every single woman, by the way, who are twice as likely to be obese as young men, has friends going, no, Becky, you're beautiful. I had a scenario, this is true. I had a scenario where I was roped in by my then lady to console her friend who boyfriend broke up with her. And they were going, oh my God, let's go. He just doesn't deserve you. Tell her. I go, I remember when she cheated on him. And they all were like, no, it's his loss. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not like he...
Where have you been, Crowder? We've been waiting for you. I took a divorce.
Yeah.
I caught an ex cheating and dumped her.
And that's what it takes, is getting, I mean, look at these guys, whether it's Crowder, Walsh, or, any of them. Even 20 years ago, I had a different mindset. It was a different world, but that may have had something to do with it, but I think it was really just the whole different mindset. As they said, with rose-colored glasses, everything's all, you don't see red flags. That it takes being burned to recognize that fire is hot. And it does tie into, the concept that black pill, how do you not do this? For what reason would you take a chance on getting burned? Or isn't a smart man one who learns from his mistakes, a wise man, someone who learns from the mistakes of others? still have to learn how to swim. You may not like the water, people may drown in the water, but you still have to learn how to swim.
Cried and begged for me. I was out, saw her years later, and she snarled and looked at me like I was a bad person. And here I was, being nice, willing to forgive and just say hi. The delusion of the modern Western woman is insane. They never learn accountability. It's daddy issues, by the way, 100%.
Men are direct, women are indirect. If a man and a woman are driving down the street and the woman is thirsty, she might say, as they pass the McDonald's, she might say, honey, are you thirsty? And he'll say, nope, and keep on driving. What she was trying to say was that she was thirsty, why don't they stop? Now, the man, on the other hand, if he saw the McDonald's and was thirsty, said, I'm thirsty, let's stop. So women tend to be indirect, and they get really angry when men don't understand what they were trying to say. So one of the best things that you can do in communication is be a little bit more direct.
The indirect versus direct. This is going to be very difficult for some people to want to accept, and that is weakness comes from being, being indirect comes from weakness. Being soft. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to be nice or kind, towards others. That, so don't confuse all of this, but essentially that's what it comes down to, is direct is a willingness to put your life on the line and be confrontational. The commentary about the individual that I was making, reference to, that they've got a bunch of junk. Their vehicle's trash, their equipment is trash, whatever, but, I have the best stuff, I have the best stuff. No, you don't. Your exhaust leaks, your engine is rattling, your equipment breaks. You don't have the best stuff. The only reason it's the best stuff is because you know how to Fonzie it. Meaning, remember when Fonzie would hit the jukebox and it would work for him? Yeah, that's essentially what it comes down to. That's the only reason that it's any good, is because it's familiar. But it's easier to talk garbage about other people and what they've done than recognize that your own equipment and your own items aren't that high caliber. But this individual is very direct in just calling out people's stuff. And it's a tactic that some people will do to put you on the defense. And this is the reason I was encouraging you to be more stoic, and that is, they're doing it as a power play to put you on the defense, so that you have a, your car's a pile of junk, and it's like, as they have theirs falling apart, literally, right in front of you. They're trying to put you in a weak spot because they're weak. Now, indirect people, they will make the veiled comments about it. You got a pay raise. If you thought about getting a new car, you'd probably get better gas mileage and more reliability. That would be a more indirect way of doing it. Oh, but I'm just trying to spare their feelings. No, you're not. They know what you're saying. You're insulting their car indirectly. So, indirect communication comes from a position of weakness. It's done by somebody who wants to get the societal approval that they're being kind when they're not. And it's their fallback to be their insurance to protect them. I didn't say anything challenging you or directly denigrating you. That it's a position of weakness. That is the reason indirect communication exists. And when you look at physiology, Men are physically stronger. I use the example of the U15 soccer team beating the professional women's adult team. Boys were stronger than adult women. Therefore, physiologically, if women are weaker, it would make sense they would develop communication habits that would protect them from aggression.
A little bit more clear, a little bit more specific. Now, an important point with regard to men. According to a recent survey, a recent study, it shows that men are 95% more likely to interrupt a woman in a conversation than a woman is likely to interrupt a man. And one of the best things that you can do in a relationship, you men out there, is take time to listen to your spouses. Ask her how her day has been. Ask her how her day has unfolded. What has happened to her? How are things going with her?
Brian Tracy is a living legend. His lessons helped me take my business to the next level. He filled the role of mentor. I cannot stress how good his communication, focus, and attitude lessons are.
When women cheat,
Men shouldn't
forgive. When your woman cheats on you, it's harder for them to come backwards from cheating. Very difficult to forgive her. I wouldn't recommend it. I highly don't recommend it, because for a woman to cheat on you, it's not that she's fallen in love with another man. She's just definitely not in love with you.
Ooh, man,
And so for you to take her back is just providing her free accommodation until she meets a man she wants to fall in love with. And like a lot of men think, oh no, women are so emotionally attached to sex. And some women can literally have an affair with a local PT who doesn't care about her, and she doesn't really care about him. It's what the driving force is not the love for the guy that she's cheating on. It's the lack of love and respect for the man she's cheating on.
interesting.
And so when you forgive her and retry with the relationship, she's already decided she doesn't really want to be with.
Forgiveness is not for the trespassers, it's for yourself. Forgive them and leave them. Yes, she may not have loved the other guy, but she definitely does not love you. Period. Do not take her back.
Would you fight for your country? This might be a controversial opinion, but I'm not fighting for people that are locked up in bunkers and making billions off of it.
The days of the noble sacrifice are over. One of the reasons that I encourage men to join the strike. When I advise you to join the strike, men and boys, what I'm advising you to do is do an inventory of your skills, your aptitudes, your vices. For you to master your existing skills and abilities, to acquire new skills and abilities, to pursue your aptitudes, and to drop your vices. If you want to know what weakness is, look at those who can't keep the bottle down, who can't keep the cigarette unlit, who need constant attention, that need a chemical fix of some kind to exist. That's all there is to it. Because when you're in survival mode, you're not going to be packing everything you need. You know, your drugs are going to wash away, your cigarettes are going to get soaked, your alcohol is going to be drink, your coffee is not going to be percolating. It doesn't matter what it is that's your vice. It will not last. And if you're alone, it's going to cost you your ability. If you're with a group, it's the most expeditious way to get yourself kicked out of it. Because those people that are in the group that see you as being a hindrance to their survival aren't going to pack you around because you've got the shakes. They're going to cut you loose. So grow up and deal with it and get it resolved. But more to the point, the noble sacrifice is over. Just like he said. We're not putting our names on lines or in our hands to swear an oath so that Bezos can sit in a bunker, or Borgerberg, or whatever, you know, can be on a gigantic yacht polluting the place, or any of these other clowns, you know. Oh look, somebody's on Air Force One or Two. Well, look at them, they're avoiding all the stuff too. Those days are over. And the faster you recognize the values that, now I can't attest to them because I haven't read his work, but a lot of people refer to Smedley Butler as being, you know, recruited to participate in a government coup, and he apparently made the statement or wrote a book called War is a Racket, that essentially that the military was muscle for big corporations. Like as I said, I haven't read it, so I don't know, but if that's the case, it might be time to rethink your what you define as patriotism.
Sorry, bro. I'm just being 100%. Back in the day, it was different, right? People were a community. The kings fought for us. They were the first ones on the line of fire. And now, what do? They just make up money. It's contracts and everything. It's not worth it.
There's this old saying, war is started by old men who hate each other and is fought by young men who don't know each other. Thanks for watching Sigma Traits. As always, we're looking forward to your support. So please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything.
I know, you're being patient. Let me get this for you.
We got a sweet old lady here. She's got 300,000, 4.6 million views. And she said let him. Just let him. Let's see what she's got to say.
Thank you for joining me on a rainy day.
Dublin.
Nothing new there. So I am in the conservatory. And I want to share a piece with you that is written by a lady called Cassie Phillips. I came across it on Facebook. Somebody had shared it. And it's one of those pieces that I've read, reread, and read again. And it really strikes home for me. So I will share it and then add my thoughts in at the end. So it's called Let Them.
Let's hear it.
Just let them. If they want to choose something or someone over you, let them. If they want to go weeks without talking to you, let them. If they're okay with never seeing you, let them. If they are okay with always putting themselves first, let them. If they are showing you who they are and not what you perceived them to be, let them. If they want to follow the crowd, let them. If they want to judge or misunderstand you, let them. If they act like they can live without you, let them. If they want to walk out of your life and leave, hold the door open and let them. Let them lose you. You were never theirs because you were always your own. So let them. Let them show you who they truly are, not tell you. Let them prove how worthy they are of your time.
Yeah, I just gotta say, life has a weird way of punishing you for trying to hold on to things that you shouldn't. It's kind of like the soap. little soap analogy, like the harder you squeeze, the slippier. What is going on with my rep? The more slippery it becomes. So, in order to get things in life and magnetize your wants to you, you almost have to stop caring and let it come to you. So, I've noticed in my own life, if the harder I chased after something, the more I wanted something in that sense, and the more obsessed I became at trying to get it, the harder it was to fucking achieve, dude. When I finally let go of whatever I was chasing, I finally ended up having it. The pressure came off my shoulders of how to attain the thing. And I finally started, I guess you could say, maybe performing in the way that you would need to, or behaving in the way that you would need to. And finally got the neediness, yeah, as unattractive it is. It's such a weird, it's so counterintuitive to what you get taught to.
Let them make the necessary steps to be a part of your life. Let them earn your forgiveness. Let them call you to talk about ordinary things. Let them take you out on a Thursday. Let them talk about anything and everything. Just because it's you that they are talking to. Let them have a safe place in you. Let them see the heart in you that didn't harden. Let them love you. Okay, so as I say, that has affected me on a very personal level. Pause for a deep intake of breath. And I knew it would affect me reading it out loud, so I've actually jotted down my ideas beforehand. You have to accept yourself just as you are without having to make changes for others. If you feel that you have to change to maintain a relationship, if that change is always one-sided, then the relationship might need to be given some consideration. And do not automatically take the blame and punish yourself for any of the things that they have done. Yeah, some of us find that hard to do. And on occasion you might be tempted to heal a rift, but they have to earn a place back in your life.
Just valuing yourself. Man, there's so many people in the world that, dude, put up with way too much because of low self-esteem, low sense of self-worth. They'll get abused. A man, like from the male perspective, a dude will stick by with the chick that abuses him, cheats on him, treats him like shit. Other men, like, isolates him from his friends. Other men will look by and be like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? You're a shell of your former self. They just get beat into submission psychologically because of no sense of self-worth. And that's kind of what she's hitting on too. I think from the male perspective, which says let them. It's just seeing who people really are in the very beginning and then making your exit from there instead of hoping that things will one day change, instead of hoping that your partner becomes maybe what you're looking for. That kind of shit. Because, man, I've seen it too much. I'm telling you, when I used to work as a bartender, like the guys that would come in the morning, these shells that I talk about, they worked somebody before, and then they got beaten into that submission. And I don't know how to even describe that look, dude, where the fucking soul isn't even present in their eyes anymore. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs to be in. Ugh. And it just like reminded me of this one guy that used to come in and, fuck, bro, like clockwork once we opened up just to talk about how shit his life was and how everything was going to shit and how he lost everything and, yeah. And that shit, and it wasn't like it culminated in the divorce, but it was, the ramp up was, it was like a train crash that you saw coming from the very start, and he just kept ignoring it. And then as time goes by, maybe it'll be fine after this, maybe after we do this, maybe this, trying to save it, right? Squeezing the fucking soap. He could have bailed out so much earlier. Like, hearing that guy's story, it was like, bro, you fucking had red flags from the jump. Just chose to stay there, right? chose to hold on to a situation, a relationship, a marriage that.
One thing to keep in mind as he's describing this is that these types of people will drag you down with them if they can, because they start recognizing that there's drowning and they begin to panic. What they'll do is they'll, both literally and figuratively, what they will do is their surviving instinct will kick in and they will push you under in order to gain ground. That the survival instinct is so strong in a desperate situation that those that are sinking will grab a hold of you and push you under in order to keep themselves above water just a little bit longer. You have to be aware of this in others. Therefore, you have to choose who it is that you associate with precision. Otherwise, they are going to panic and they're going to drag you down. This is part of the reason that I call out those that throw adult temper tantrums. Adults don't throw temper tantrums. People that aren't mentally mature are those who throw temper tantrums. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a difference between being angry and throwing a temper tantrum, or being sad and throwing a temper tantrum. Don't confuse the two. You know exactly what it is when you've seen it, and that is somebody who is not getting their way that's throwing a temper tantrum, and especially when they get away with it, they have that smug, gloating look of, I got away with it behavior. One of two things is going to happen. They're going to pull you down and step on you and sacrifice you to keep themselves alive even just a few seconds longer. Or you are going to acquire that same level of behavior and start doing it also. It's an infection. This is the reason I call it out as an infection that needs to be removed.
Didn't serve him for decades, until all he did was, come into the wing bar to drink himself fucking half conscious. So it's difficult to see it when you're in it. I think that's cope. It's not difficult to see it when you're in it, bro. If you're fucking miserable, you're miserable. It's not difficult to see it all. It's difficult to act. It's difficult to put your foot down and don't do the sunk cost value. I've invested so much, I can't leave now. Well, if you don't leave now, you have the rest of your life to be fucking miserable in the same position. Now, I'm not advocating just leave for no reason, willy-nilly, but what I'm saying is, it's not that these men didn't see it coming. Nobody gets blindsided by this. People do the ostrich thing. They bury their heads in the sand and pretend they don't have problems. Pretend it's all okay. Pretend it doesn't count anymore. I think that's more what's actually going on with a lot of dudes. But I digress, Some guys feel like they got too much to lose. Some guys don't even know how to behave after leaving relationships like that. Like, honestly, their women do so much for them. Yeah. Someone said, I didn't put two and two together until years after the damage. Yeah. That gets into a deeper issue of even recognizing what the damage is like, because maybe you came from a broken childhood, right? You had a lot of trauma growing up. You had a dysfunctional relationship in your family. And so dysfunction to you may seem normal. That's another more advanced, nuance in this that people don't really touch up on. So I get it. I kind of get it. Yeah, true. But still, you're a grown man. So at what point do you assign responsibility and say, well, you should have done the work. You should see this at what age? 18, you're still too young. 25, you're barely coming into your identity truly as an adult. 30, okay, bro, most of the kinks should be ironed out psychologically by 30. Or at least be aware and working on them. So then when you get down on one knee, At what point do we say you're at fault here? Like, you fucked up. Yeah. Well, it's something to think about, you know?
Somebody, no, I want to be in love. I want to share my life with someone. I want to feel the joys. I want to feel, have my hands held. I want to be held. I want to kiss. I want to.
A 50-plus woman finally sees she hit the wall hard. She spent decades chasing freedom and living her truth. Now wonders why men her age chase younger women. Simple. Men with money and status don't want aging competition. They want beauty, youth, peace. And older women don't mentor the young, because deep down, they're still in the race for the same men. It's survival, not sisterhood.
It don't matter how old a man gets, he's always going to have options. Younger, finer, fitter, willing, but they wasted all their time telling all these good men, oh no, you're not my type, and I need a man that's going to do all this stuff for me. You too broke for me. Y'all brag about the fact that y'all don't cook. You brag about the fact that you're not cleaning for nobody. You brag about the fact that you're selfish. You brag about all these things that are contrary to what a man wants. What happens is they start approaching that wall. Once they are approaching that wall, or once they hit it, they already got kids. They're not in their prime anymore. And then they get frustrated. They try to convert other women and try to convince other women that they also don't need men, because now they no longer qualify. Now what are you left with? You're broken, used, washed up, your self-worth, your dignity, all of that done gone. Now what you gonna do? You love talking about yourself, and you can do bad all by yourself, and it's all about me, and because I'm the prize. Where are your results then? If you're the prize, who's the prize winner? If you're the prize, where is the collector of the prize?
Where is the collector of the prize? Let me break down. Nowhere, there isn't one. What happens to female narcissists as they age? Nearly all aging female narcissists will play the victim. It is the only thing they have left. They don't have their youthful looks anymore. But because they look in the mirror and see their decline, they realize they won't have the pull that the world gives to the young and beautiful. They don't have the strength they once had, and they don't have the sharpness of mind they used to have. All of this leads them to their only fallback, victimhood.
It's okay. Sometimes pain and hurt can come in all ways. I'm just so tired of being hurt. I'm pulling tired, baby girl. I know you're tired. It's okay. Right there, look at releasing. Releasing every pain and every minute you have. This is your story, this is your story. Baby girl, this is your story. You don't take it. And I'm gonna put your story inside of a calendar. And I want you to take that calendar, sir, give me, baby girl. Take that calendar. Look into the mirror.
To get an idea of how disgusting stuff such as this happened, I had a friend about 15 years ago, and I saw him doing something similar in real time, and it blew me away. I was like, oh my god, dude, what the F? This is pathetic. Anyway, what it is it's a 40-plus-year-old fat woman who's crying because she's still single. I had a family member who was 30-something sitting in my living room one day and did something similar. I don't want to really get into the dynamics of how that came about, but the short version is a family that was all girls had a very womanist view of the world, passed that on to their girl children, and yeah, the majority of them that are either fat and unhappy or just unhappy. So the irony is the clues aren't clues. You know, you're not having to actually search for it. The evidence is right there in reality that these bad decisions are being made, yet they're not looking at it and saying, oh my gosh, you want me to follow this same path that led you to your failure?
And I want you to say to yourself, love me. This is your destiny. You gotta love yourself. This is your story. And I want you to blow it up.
In their 20s, many women believed they had endless options, turning down good men, chasing excitement, and setting sky-high standards. Fast forward to their 40s, and reality hits hard. The attention fades, the pool shrinks, and those once dismissed men have moved on to younger, more nurturing partners. Now they sit hurt and confused, wondering why no one wants to date them, never realizing they wasted their prime being too picky.
Can someone please explain to me what's happening with the dating scene? Because I can't do this. I can't. I've been a wife my whole life. I can't be in these streets like this. I have 25-year-olds sending me peen videos. I don't want to see that. Like, what is that going to do for me? I am grown up. I have bills. I have kids that are literally your age. I have 40-year-olds who won't communicate, who ghost, who lie about who they are and what their intentions are. Liars, people who pretend to be people they surely are not. I just can't. I can't do it. What is happening with these men? I can't. I just need a godly man. I need a quiet. You don't have to be quiet. I like them loud and fun.
Alright, number one, you left them. I say that because she has a lanyard with a key and what looks like a key card and scrubs. So she is I'm presuming, medical professional. And medical professional women have a higher incidence of infidelity. In addition to that, if she's educated, and she is a nurse, doctor, whatever, the likelihood is greater than 90% that she filed divorce. At the minimum, 69% of women initiate divorce. So she's already in a field of which she has a higher percentage chance of infidelity. And by virtue of her gender, she is the one most likely to break up her family. And she's got the audacity to say, hey, where's my godly man? I can't handle this. I can't handle disgusting, immature behavior and non-communication, but I was non-communicative when I destroyed my marriage because I didn't get what I wanted, because you didn't read my mind. And I acted inappropriately, causing the demise of the marriage. Yeah. I get it. It's a minefield. This is the reason that you've got to do the due diligence. And even then, there's not any guarantee. I don't have the answers. I'm not the expert, but I do know that declining birth rates is not the solution. You know, as Bo Repick has said, look at it as a psyop. Who is going to profit from this? I told my children 15 years ago what they needed to get into was robotics. As robotics, due to the baby boomer population aging out, there would not be sufficient numbers of individuals available to provide services, whether it's home health care services or personal assistant services or even home maintenance services, yard work, home repairs. But robotics would be the direction to go. And fast forward, what do we've got? We've got the burgeoning, field of AI, robotics, and drones. So I wasn't completely wrong. I was partially wrong. I was probably 1/3 correct on what it is that they should have been focusing. And that, though, answers the question, who, or at least part of the question, and that is, who aims to profit from this psychological operation of population decline?
Loud and fun. I just want you to be honest and go to work. I don't need you to pay my bills. I can pay for them myself. I can do my own nails. I can do my own hair. I can keep up myself. Can you?
And what is it that is? It's the pleading stage, the negotiating stage, the begging stage. This is in reference to a panicked individual who is facing a terminal illness where it's already too late to correct their behaviors, but they're trying to beg for time. That's what this woman is doing. She is, and many in similar circumstances, are begging for time. Be wary of that level of desperation.
Can you talk? Can you communicate? Can you not be a liar? Help! What?
Now that the party's over and their looks don't command rooms anymore, they suddenly want a godly man, stable, loyal, emotionally mature. Not because they value godliness, but because they're tired, worn out, and done chasing chaos. Now they even pay for their own dinners, buy their own flowers, hype themselves up, and still men ain't having it. That window closed.
I'm 46 years old, and while I'm getting ready for surgery and everything, it dawned on me that I'm 46 years old, and I don't have a husband to take care of me. Being single and 46 sucks. It just sucks. And I make jokes about...
It's a bummer, but I'm a bit of a jerk. First thing that comes to mind is the David Lee Roth, I ain't got nobody. That song from the late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was. It wasn't his song, he just did the cover of it, but that's what I hear when I hear people lament, I'm so alone, I've got nobody, and I'm facing this catastrophic crises in my world, and blah, blah, feel sorry for me. I'm not capable of feeling sorry for you because you're an adult who chose a path of reckless life choices that essentially you chose a bad lifestyle. You chose pleading. You chose the chasing the dragon is a drug reference, is a high reference that others have used lately in this, and that is you chose the quick fix of feel good, the dopamine hit, instead of doing the personal growth that was necessary. Anybody who's had a garden, anyone who's raised animals, anyone who's parented successful children knows that it takes persistence and dedication, discipline, to yield a positive result. As one of the cats is staring at me as I'm speaking, they're like, yeah, Where's that positive result for my litter box, man? You got your food. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. I'm insensitive, and I don't care. Well, you'll care when it's your turn. I've been on that road. People didn't care, and that's actually not true. I pick and choose where it is I'm going to assist. I don't have the time, resources, abilities to be able to spread myself so thin as to be there for everyone all the time. This individual made life choices that resulted in their isolation. At one time, she was most likely an attractive woman, but she made bad choices that resulted in being alone. Sucks to be you. No pity, no sympathy.
Buffoons that I have been encountering in dating, but in reality, this is my reality.
Now at 47, she finally realizes she wants a man, someone to settle down with, to lean on. But all her years of health, youth and beauty were spent basking in her own aura, chasing validation, partying, and finding herself. The time to build love passed, while she was busy loving only herself. Now she wants companionship, but the men she once ignored have moved on.
Weird how I ended up as a girl who works. I don't know how that happened.
The strong, independent woman mantra hit differently in her 20s and 30s, cocktails, careers, and clout. Now in her 40s, the silence hits harder than the empowerment quotes. She's done being independent, tired of carrying it all, crying behind closed doors because strength with no support gets heavy. But the men she once rolled her eyes at, they're not waiting anymore.
You know, people make fun of those interviews on the street. Name 3 countries. Is Africa a country? You know, those bits, you know. The other that you don't see as frequent, but was out there, is what causes, you know, what is it that supports your body? Muscle? Well, it's, you know, skeleton. You've got to have a good frame. You have to have a good frame to be able to support the body. You put the skeleton on, you put the muscles on, you put the skin on, and then put the organs inside the various packages. Oversimplified, probably not exactly physiologically correct, but you get what I'm saying. People's view of reality is not always consistent with reality itself, and in their ability to communicate this, you know, if 2 individuals are attempting to communicate and their perceptions of reality are already both warped, but warped differently, they're going to agree to a word that word represents something, and it's going to be wrong. And it's going to lead to breakdowns. It's going to lead to frustration. That's the reason Dr. Peterson, Jordan Peterson, speaks in the manner of that he does and emphasizes precision in language, precision in the words you choose to communicate. Take that 2 seconds to make certain that word is what you want to say. Don't get caught up in the emotion of just throwing things out there because you think it'll be, it'll land, both emotionally good or emotionally bad. Consider if it is actually conveying what it is you're attempting to communicate. And that's what we're finding out. We've got a lot of individuals that are not happy, both men and women. These women are throwing temper tantrums. Where are all the good men at? Well, you left them in the dustbin. You called them dusties. You know, you threw them in the dustbin. You ignored them. You chased the dragon, literal dragons, demonic possessed individuals, because they were dangerous and exciting. That's on you. You're an adult. You made bad choices. You thought you could tame a demon, and just because the harlot tamed Enkidu, she only did it because Gilgamesh commanded her to do it. And Enkidu was a wild man, not a demon.
What an emotional night I had with my partner of 3 months. I'm not a girl who gets involved in these 3-month relationships, so this was a new experience for me. But yeah, I mean, a man will move mountains to be with the woman that he wants to be with, and mine just kept coming up with excuses and justification. And clearly, if you heard his side, you would understand. But it really comes down to communication and lack of it. Even tonight, we were having plans, and his friends invited him to go get drinks for someone's birthday at 1:30. He was supposed to be done at 3:30, stay till 4:30. So when he came to my house, straight from dropping off his friend, he didn't bring a bag. And not that he needed to stay the night, but he's been staying the night. So the idea that he didn't bring a bag spoke volumes to me. So anyway, I'm a little bit sad, and when I say a little bit, I am very sad, because I was very hopeful. But someone who doesn't know how to communicate and prioritize and reminds me that I'm an option. Somebody said this on TikTok and I loved it.
This is something you want to avoid. This is why you don't rush into moving in together. There's other ways of gauging this litmus test on somebody. But this woman is creating drama out of nothing. He went and hung out and did something for himself, and he's choosing to go home rather than stay the night. She's reading into it more than what it is, and she ended a relationship prematurely because essentially he did it without her. How dare he be happy without her? He should be pining for her in her mentality, in her worldview. It's ridiculous. I mean, everybody wants to be wanted at some level when they're in a relationship. They want to feel desired. They want to feel chosen. Three months is just too soon to be expecting 30 years worth of background and history and developed emotions and such.
I'm an option. I'm not a priority. And I deserve better. So, on to the next.
And there's that word, deserve. What is it you've done that demonstrates you deserve? That's what that freaking Seattle soccer lesbian said. I deserve this! I deserve this! No, Megan Rapinoe. She didn't deserve anything. If anything, she's turned people off of women's soccer because of her behavior. This woman doesn't deserve anything. You earn it by your achievements. What is it you've done in your life that would make people respect you, that would make people come to you, whether it's for advice, for companionship, business, association? You can't measure that by those who are compelled to do it. You have to measure it by those who choose to do it. And this woman is making something out of nothing, and she terminated a relationship because of this expectation of being deserving without taking any responsibility for any of the actions she's doing. It's all his fault because he spent 3 hours with his friends and then came and visited me and then went back to his home, so I ended it because I deserve better. No, he deserves better because he took time out of his fraternal association to still spend time with you, and you decided to make a video tormenting him and denigrating him. He still included you in the activity of that day. And you said, that's not enough. It has to be all or nothing.
When a woman hits her 50s and still thinks she should be a man's priority, it's like showing up to a sold-out concert and demanding front row seats. Reality check. Men in their 50s now have access to younger, fitter, more agreeable women. Options you no longer compete with. You had your time. Now you're an option, not the main act. Harsh. Maybe, but it's true.
I'm turning 40 this year and everything is just hitting me right now. It's like, not where I wanted to be. I haven't succeeded at anything. I haven't even tried. Like, I don't even know anymore. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to cope with anything. And I don't know how to, I did this whole growing thing wrong. Like I'm supposed to be an adult. I'm supposed to be able to handle these things, and I can't handle anything. I literally am just realizing, like, it's been 40 years of this, and, like, it's 40 years of just being confused and not knowing, and, like, figuring things out slower, and, like, not, like, I haven't built anything. I haven't nothing, like, to show for this time. I just don't know what I'm doing here, and I'm lost, I'm afraid, and I don't.
Facts don't care about your feelings. 40 years is more than enough time to figure life out.
Yeah, no kidding.
If you spent it chasing thrills, ignoring good men, and finding yourself, don't act surprised when the options run.
Their irony. You're 40 years old, chasing after something to find yourself, only to find out you've not made any progress. That's drug addict levels of incompetence. You know, oh, I was going to go to school, but I got high. I was going to get a job, but I got high. You know, I can't remember the guy's name, the Afro Man, song from, 15, 20 years ago? It's all about, chasing that fix just to say, hey, look at me, I'm doing something. As you're spinning your wheels, digging yourself deeper into a rut. There's no accomplishment. She went to find herself, but all she did was make herself miserable as a result. And that's what when you purposely go out to do something stupid such as that, all you're going to do is find levels of misery, because you're not accomplishing anything. If you want to find yourself, learn a language, write a book, build a treehouse, grow a garden. Have things that actually have levels of success. When you do flight training, for example, and it's been decades since I've done it, so I don't remember, I know part 61, and I might have that wrong, maybe it's part 60 or part 62, but the part 61 is essentially the farmer's flight training, where you just kind of scrapped out a lesson plan with your flight instructor, and you do so many touch and goes, and then you get signed off to do solos, local area, and then you do turning stalls, climbing stalls, power on, power off stalls. And then you get signed off for your long cross country, and next thing you know, 50 hours later, you're ready to do your check ride. With part 141, you have progress checks. Every 5 to 10 hours, you are signed off. So at the completion, you're done at 35, 40 hours because all of the progress checks, you know, the first 5 hours deal with takeoff and landing. The next 5 hours deal with returning stalls. The next 5 hours deal with power on, power off stalls, and so forth. And then you're signed off for your shortcut, local area, solo, your shortcut cross-country, your long cut cross-country. And as each endorsement on your logbook is accomplished, it serves as essentially a mini check ride for each of the progress checks. That is the reason that you do things. You lift weights, go fishing. Because at the end of the day, you may not see the results, but you're acquiring the skill and you're gaining knowledge from that experience to become a better catcher of fish, a better weightlifter, a better linguist, a better author, whatever it is. You do things and you measure your what's called your analytics, and you then calibrate what is catching and what is dragging. And you're able to make course corrections along the way and adjustments. So, you know, when you go find yourself, there's no metric for it. It's subjective. How do you know when you found yourself? I mean, quite honestly, when you describe that, it sounds like puberty, when you realize, oh, self-stimulation, okay, that's, you know, so when people say they're going to find themselves, that's what I think of, is the same thing, you know, on that level, is it's mental version of that master and then the and, you know, the baiting. It's ultimately non-productive. What's not unproductive is the way these chickens go through the seed. Man, I tell you what, these chickens are just insane for the seed. And it's not just eating. They like throwing it as if it's confetti. I've been putting off bringing the shop back out to clean up this area around here. I've been sweeping it quite often. You know, pretty much once or twice a day minimum. But I didn't do it last night, and I haven't done it this morning because it's not as bad. But in another week to 3 weeks, when they start transitioning outside, I am so very much looking forward to bringing the shop back and out and just... I've got 2 scented candles, and it's still, in my opinion, not enough. But these little feathered friends are well worth it. The cats enjoy their company. I enjoy the company. I find them and their little chirpy, 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 very soothing. They were so excited when I turned their water silo back up and it still had water in it. Now I've got to refill the water silo now that I'm done with the seed. Come on. Alright, good girl. Alright. I'll get your water here in just a minute.
Dry. Time isn't loyal. Choices have consequences. You didn't get fooled. You gambled and lost. Now the game is different, and the house always wins in the end.
Yeah.
Anyone want to come down to Florida with me? Pretend like you're my boyfriend? Make nice around my face.
No, thank you.
This is pure desperation on display. Hitting middle age and begging random guys online to play pretend boyfriend just to feel relevant. When you treat commitment like an optional accessory for decades, loneliness eventually calls your bluff. Seeking fake validation isn't a solution. It's proof the war was real, and you slammed into it hard.
Hey, 60s and single, how's your day going? I'm here, as you can see, by my favorite trees that are killing me, but it's his favorite place to walk. But listen, let's talk about something. I want to get your opinion. What do you guys think about speed dating? Who's done it? Have you done speed dating before? I've never, but someone told me that they had an event here over the weekend for speed dating, and I don't know, I've never tried it, and I was kind of curious about it. Don't know how much time do you have, like, at each little thing. I think what do they do, ring a bell or something like that, and so, who's done it? Who's done speed dating? I want to know, I'm curious. I'd like to try it, I think it could be fun.
Alright. More than 15 years ago, I tried it. It was alright. You know, what is it, 3 to 5 minutes that you interact with somebody, and you fill out a card afterward, and if you match, you match. If you don't, you don't. Bottom line is, they try to keep it age, connected, and I'm not interested in old women. That's all there is to that. So there's no reason that I've had to ever go back. What I did find to be similar to speed dating is learning how to social dance, East Coast swing, salsa. Those activities are very similar to speed dating. You pay a cover charge. You ask a woman to dance. Most likely she says yes. And in that 3 minutes that you're interacting on the dance floor, you're able to talk, and quite often a lot of the women are providing you their phone number, wanting you to call them. In fact, one that I remember in particular stated that she was leaving for Guatemala soon, and I dismissed it and said, well, when you get back from Guatemala, let's get together. And that look of defeat on her face of, you crazy fool, I'm inviting you over right now because I'm leaving and I don't know when I'll be back. It was very obvious that, she was pretty, but, yeah, my methods of operation are different. I'm not much into chasing fleeting encounters. It's not, they hold no interest for me. And those that does, I have no interest in. So that's just, how I do it. But, whatever, some people like going to the bar and getting the hookup of the night or the week or the month or whatever and being done with it and moving on to the next one. Speed dating is similar. Social dancing has the potential of being similar, but the nice thing about social dancing is it's an activity that you meet each other, that you now have a shared interest. You go and you do the lessons for East Coast Swing, and then you meet people at East Coast Swing, and then you connect with somebody who's also doing East Coast Swing. You now have a shared hobby that you're able to spend the next decade to half a century with each other at home or going out to do. You don't have to have every interest and hobby be shared, but to have something as a foundation is going to help you in the long run. That's why, if you have a shared religious faith, a shared political identity, a shared group of hobbies and friends, those types of connections tend to last longer, unless maybe they don't, maybe I'm read the information wrong, let me know. But if you have something to fall back on that generates a positive emotional memory, it's going to help you. And if you're not familiar with it, The Way of the Superior Man by David Data, D is in Delta, E is in Echo, I is in India, D is in Delta, A is in Alpha, David Data. helps offer insight into that line of thinking, that if you can transition an individual from a negative emotional state to a positive emotional state and have developed, entrenched, positive emotional memories that help you build, that are your foundation, you're going to have a stronger connection.
Do you mind sharing your experience? Like, did you meet anybody? Like, was it worth it? And what happened? Like, what do you wear to speed dating? Is this appropriate for speed dating? Or do you need to be dressed? I mean, like, I don't know. Is there a dress code? Do you get food? Is there drinks at speed dating? I don't know. I'm just curious, and I'd like for you guys to help me out. And what do you think about it? Like, I'm up for anything most of the time, and as long as it's legal. And I don't know, I'm just trying to be, creative, and I guess that's kind of like organically meeting somebody, because if you're speed dating, you don't know who's going to pop up, and you've gone there, and it may happen, it may not. So I guess you call that organically.
At 60 and asking the internet about speed dating? Mom, sorry for being harsh, but maybe prioritize calcium and joint health before chasing romance in 5-minute rounds. This isn't Sex and the City Retirement Edition. At this point, it's not speed dating, it's a sprint against time. You had decades to figure love out. Now you're racing clocks and arthritis, and men aren't here for it.
If you would date an over 40-year-old woman, just say yes. Because, at this point, these 18-year-olds are making fun of me by not asking me for my phone number, but for my email instead.
Boys clowning on you because you're old, asking for your email like they're dodging the real deal. They don't know how to handle an older woman, and honestly, your time's run out in this game. You showed up late, now you're getting played. Can't blame the players when you ain't playing smart. When a woman in her 40s is begging the internet for validation, you know she's hit rock bottom. That desperation screams one thing: she's out of options and out of time. No more prime years left to attract quality. Instead of owning her life, she's fishing for pity online. Reality check. Nobody owes you attention anymore. Wake up. This woman's out here crying online at 40, stuck in a grind she built herself. She set those goals, made those choices, and now acts shocked when it all feels heavy. Life doesn't hand out sympathy for self-made struggles. You wanted that solo hustle? Own it. Stop blaming the clock or the world for decisions you made years ago.
So I thought I'd use this platform as a way to make connections with people. I'm a single parent and I don't get out that often, so the kids take up much of my time, and yeah, just want to reach out to people.
Thanks for watching Manhood. If you want access to exclusive episodes and want to support the channel, hit that join button and become a member. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video if it hit home. Drop your stories and thoughts in the comments. We read everyone. See you tomorrow.
Alright, I've got plants to go water and a litter box to clean out. Have yourself a great day. Hope you enjoyed watching the chickens do their chickeny thing.